Meri going off and figuring out who she is or figuring out what she needs to do and whatever I can do to help her. But
the truth has a way of clawing its way to the surface. No matter how deeply buried or carefully disguised behind smiles, promises, or rehearsed lines meant for television. For years, the Brown family had lived under the illusion of unity, loyalty, and sacrifice. A glossy portrait sold to millions of viewers. But that portrait was cracking, the shine flaking away to reveal something darker beneath lies. Manipulation and betrayals that had stretched far beyond the camera lens. And now, under the sterile lights of a courtroom heavy with tension, that portrait shattered completely. What once looked like a guilty pleasure reality show had turned into a battle for truth, survival, and justice. Kody Brown sat stiffly at the plaintiff's table, her fingers white-knuckled around a thick leather folder. Years of quiet documentation lived within it. Every receipt, every transaction. Every email printout was a piece of the empire Kody Brown had sworn would never crumble. She didn't tremble from fear, her shoulders shook under the sheer weight of what she was about to unleash. Behind her, the gallery overflowed with onlookers, reporters clutching pens, court sketch artists with sharpened pencils, estranged relatives who had lived through the fallout, and strangers who had once admired the show but now came to witness its unraveling. All rise. The bailiff's command sliced through the hum of whispers like a blade. Wooden benches scraped across the floor in a cacophony of movement as everyone stood. The double doors behind the bench opened. Judge Harwood entered with measured steps, her gaze sharp as granite, her face lined with years of no-nonsense rulings. She wasn't here to entertain celebrity or bend to spectacle. She was here to carve through smoke and find the truth. The gavel slammed down once. This court is now in session. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Even coughs were swallowed into nothing. Then, through the side door, Kody Brown entered. For years, audiences had watched him on their screens, grinning, boasting, his golden curls bouncing as he painted himself the head of a kingdom. Today, the swagger was gone. His once proud curls were damp with sweat plastered against his forehead. His strut was reduced to stiff, halting steps. He looked diminished, as though truth itself pressed on his shoulders. He glanced toward Kody. For an instant, their eyes locked. He expected bitterness, maybe triumph. Instead, what he found was colder determination. Kody wasn't here for revenge. She was here for justice. He faltered. Kody straightened her posture, gripping the folder tighter. The moment the judge invited opening statements, her lawyer, Mr. Langston, strode into the center of the courtroom. His tone was calm but carried steel beneath. "Your Honor," he began, "today we will show that Mr. Brown not only misrepresented his finances, but that he did so while deceiving several women under the guise of spiritual unity. Worse, those deceptions were hidden while he enjoyed fame and fortune from a family he himself was secretly undermining." The room stirred with agitation. Kody's lawyer objected, claiming the introduction was inflammatory. But the judge simply waved a hand. Overruled. Proceed. Kody rose, clutching her file. She walked to the stand, trembling only slightly as she placed her hand on the Bible and swore her oath. Then, voice steady, though her throat burned, she began. "I was married to Kody Brown for more than 25 years. We raised children. We shared a mission. But behind closed doors, I learned that the mission was a lie. He siphoned money, kept us isolated, and built a narrative for cameras, while the truth was hidden from us all." She lifted the folder and handed it to the bailiff. "This contains more than 200 pages of receipts, bank statements, messages, and production records. Proof that Kody diverted funds, manipulated contracts, and lied to each of us to keep control." A gasp ran through the courtroom. Kody shifted in his seat, whispering urgently to his lawyer, but Kody's voice cut through. "These records show purchases made while we were told the family was broke. Robyn received jewelry, luxury trips, even private accounts. The rest of us were told there wasn't enough for groceries." The judge leaned forward. "And you have documentation of this?" Kody nodded. The judge thumbed through the folder, pausing on a page. "This receipt shows a $34,000 payment," he said slowly. "2 days before your anniversary party." "Yes, Your Honor," Christine replied. "We were told we couldn't afford catering." But this indicates Kody booked a 5-star hotel and bought Robyn a custom necklace. The judge raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The weight of the evidence spoke louder than any words. As Christine's lawyer presented more evidence, the room grew restless. Financial advisors were called to testify. A former TLC producer took the stand, revealing that Kody had personally negotiated a head of household bonus money none of the wives ever saw. Even Janelle, who had once stayed neutral, bowed her head in shame. Robyn sat frozen, expression unreadable. And then, when the courtroom was at its most taut with tension, a quiet voice rose from the gallery. "Your Honor," it said firmly, "I'd like to be sworn in." Heads turned. It was Meri Brown, the first wife. Kody's face drained of color. "Meri, don't," he hissed under his breath. But she didn't falter. Dressed in a simple gray blazer, she walked forward. Her face pale, but her eyes alive with something that hadn't been there in years. Conviction. The judge regarded her. "Miss Brown, are you represented by counsel?" "No, Your Honor," she said. "But I am prepared to testify under oath." Christine blinked, shocked. Even Robyn's eyes widened. Janelle leaned forward, lips parted in disbelief. The bailiff swore her in. Meri sat in the witness chair, her hands trembling slightly, but her voice rang clear, cutting through the thick air of the courtroom. "I have been silent for too long. I thought loyalty meant protecting Kody. I thought silence was safety. But I see now that silence was betrayal. Truth is not the enemy here. Lies are." From her pocket, she produced a small USB drive. The air in the room seemed to still. "This contains 10 years of spreadsheets, bank records, and receipts." "Why do I have them?" "Because for most of that time, I was the family's bookkeeper." Kody shot to his feet. "You said you burned those?" His voice cracked with panic. The judge's gavel slammed. "Sit down, Mr. Brown." Meri looked at him once, her voice low but strong. "You asked me to burn them?" "I didn't. Something inside told me one day the truth would matter." The courtroom erupted. Reporters scribbled furiously. Gasps rippled like shockwaves. Kody's lawyer scrambled to object, but the damage was done. The illusion of control Kody had clung to for decades collapsed in that instant. He no longer looked like a patriarch. He looked like a man exposed, stripped of his empire, his secrets laid bare by the very women he believed he could control. The judge's voice cut through the chaos, steady and sharp. "This court will recess. We will reconvene tomorrow to review the evidence provided. Until then, no press releases, no leaks. Am I clear?" Both sides nodded, but as Christine, Janelle, and Meri walked out together, something irreversible had shifted. For the first time, Kody sat alone. Outside, cameras flashed wildly. Reporters shouted questions. Crowds pressed against barricades. But Christine didn't stop. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She walked past Kody without a glance, knowing this was far from the end. Because the trial had only just begun. And when it was over, every secret
It's gonna get really super honest, and I don't know if we want to do this.
How about this? Is that better?
Yes.
The gallery sat in thick silence, the kind of silence that trembles just before thunder. Meri Brown passed the small USB drive to the bailiff with hands that shook but didn't falter. The bailiff walked it forward to the court technician, who inserted it into the waiting computer. In moments, the projector flickered back to life. White light spilled across the courtroom wall, and then the gasps came. On the screen appeared not just dry ledgers, but handwritten notes, Kody Brown's own memos, complete with withdrawal authorizations, deposit orders, and internal budgets. The names of each wife appeared in scrawled ink. The numbers bled off the page like open wounds. The room leaned forward when one particular slide appeared. Monthly disbursement. Meri, $1,700. Janelle, $2,100. Meri's throat bobbed. She swallowed hard, eyes glassy, but voice steady when she spoke. Every time we asked about the imbalance, we were accused of being selfish. We were told the family had needs. Langston, Christine's attorney, leaned forward, voice calm but sharp. Miss Brown, did you ever feel pressured to remain silent? Meri hesitated, the pause stretching painfully before she finally said, yes. Kody would tell us that questioning him was the same as questioning God, spiritually. Emotionally, he made us believe obedience equaled faith. Kody's lawyer leaped to his feet. Objection, Your Honor. The judge barely glanced up. Overruled. Proceed. Miss Brown, Langston asked, did the other wives know about the exact split of funds? Meri shook her head. No, Your Honor. I was instructed to keep it secret or risk being cut off completely. Christine brushed a tear from her cheek. Janelle's face drained pale. The courtroom crackled with tension, and then Langston tapped his screen again. Your Honor, I draw the court's attention to another document. Title, Vegas 2017. Final report. The projector flickered. The image shifted. This time, itineraries, flight receipts. And one glaring line item, $75,000. Wire transfer from the Brown family account directly to a Las Vegas casino. The gallery erupted in horrified whispers. During that same week, Langston said evenly, Mr. Brown told the wives there wasn't enough money for school supplies for their children. Meri's voice broke in, sharper now. That wasn't a family trip. It was Kody and Robyn alone, working out some private deal without the rest of us. Robyn gasped. That's not true. But Meri turned on her with fire in her voice. You knew? The judge cut through the chaos with his gavel. Order. Miss Brown, continue. Meri straightened her papers. That report includes spa treatments, VIP passes, and a $6,000 dinner reservation. That same month, we were told to forego groceries. The gallery's gasp this time wasn't just shock, it was outrage. Langston allowed a tight smile to crease his lips. This is not sloppy bookkeeping, Your Honor. This is deception. This is theft from a cooperative business entity funneled into two households while defrauding the rest. The judge sighed, rubbing his forehead. The court has now been presented with evidence suggesting financial fraud, spiritual coercion, and abuse of trust. We will proceed cautiously. His eyes cut to Kody. Sir, you stand on the verge of criminal waters. Kody smirked, though sweat shone at his temples. And then Meri rose again, her voice soft but steady. Your Honor, there's something else. From her purse, she pulled a sealed envelope. The bailiff took it to the judge, who slid it open and unfolded the pages inside. His eyes scanned, his brow tightening with each line. Langston stepped forward. May I read this into the record? The judge nodded. Langston cleared his throat. This is a contract signed by Mr. Brown with a third-party production agent, not TLC, in it. Kody is promised a private bonus of $200,000 per season. Renewal of Sister Wives. But there's a stipulation that he keep the wives compliant and story-worthy. The room exploded. Journalists shouted. Cameras flashed. The wives gasped audibly. The judge slammed the gavel so hard the wood splintered. Order! Order! When the courtroom finally stilled, he leaned forward with eyes like steel. This court has now heard evidence of possible contract fraud and deliberate exploitation. A motion will be filed to initiate an investigation. Kody shifted in his seat for the first time, looking smaller than the women beside him. Christine reached for Meri's hand and gripped it tightly. The recess bell rang, but before the judge could rise, a quiet voice pierced the silence. Yes, whispered Robyn. Every head turned. Kody snapped toward her. No, you don't. But Robyn was already standing, trembling but upright. Her mascara streaked, her voice breaking as she faced the judge. I need to speak. The judge's eyes narrowed. Very well, Miss Brown. Please take the stand. The bailiff swore her in. Her voice cracked on the words. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. When she finally sat, she barely touched the chair, posture stiff with fear. I didn't know about all of it, she began, voice rough. But I knew enough to be ashamed. Christine blinked. Janelle stiffened. Meri's fists clenched. Kody shook his head violently. This is madness. But Robyn pressed on, tears dripping onto the wood in front of her. He said if we didn't centralize the finances, we'd lose everything: the children, the show, our future. I believed him. She pointed weakly at Kody. But then I started receiving checks in my name from accounts I never opened. Flights for trips I never took. Jewelry, vacations, and I stopped asking questions. Langston leaned forward. You're saying you've benefited without explanation? Yes, she whispered. I think part of me knew, but I chose to forget it. The judge's voice was low. Why speak now? Her mouth trembled. Because I can't carry it anymore. And because Christine was right. Gasps swept the courtroom. Kody slammed his hand on the table. Treason. The judge's gavel cracked. One more word, Mr. Brown, and you will be removed. Kody sat back, seething. Robyn's words tumbled out in sobs. He told me to smile in front of cameras, to be the obedient one, to make the others look unreasonable. He said to lie about money, that we were broke, and in truth, he was hiding payments and bonuses. He told me if they ever knew, they'd revolt. The projector screen changed again, showing household expenses. 2021. Robyn's family budget, 4 times larger than the others. That's real, Robyn admitted. I was told never to question it. But when investigators came, I realized it was all a falsehood. Christine stood abruptly, her voice cutting through. Why now, Robyn? Robyn's shoulders shook. Because I thought he loved me. But I see no eye was cover. I was his shield. The silence that followed was seismic. Then the judge spoke. This testimony is material and credible. A subpoena will be filed for offshore account records. Miss Brown, you may have preserved months of investigation. Thank you. Robyn collapsed back, shattered. Kody sat stone-faced, abandoned by the very wife he had favored. But the unraveling wasn't over. Janelle, who had been silent through it all, rose from the back row. She walked forward with calm precision, a flash drive in her hand. Your Honor, I have something that changes everything. Kody leaped to his feet. She's bluffing. The bailiff restrained him as Janelle placed the drive on the judge's bench. These are audio recordings, she said. Conversations between Kody, financial advisors, and production executives. Recordings where he explains not just mismanagement, but deliberate plans to exploit the